on a Friday morning. We're talking Dallas Cowboys now. So Mike McCarthy's first season in Dallas, how do I put this gently, was terrible. They lost Dak. Their offense wasn't great. Their defense was even worse than their offense, which is why Mike McCarthy said his main focus this season will be on the defensive side of the ball. Here he is explaining why they struggled so badly last year.
We tried to change too much on defense if we're looking for a mistake, and I don't think it's a mistake. We didn't get it done. So and that's just we went in with too much volume. But this was all part of the direction that Jerry and Steve and I, when we sat down, we felt that this football team, the direction it needed to go. So there was definitely some miss on the understanding of what fits and what didn't fit.
So just to recap, they came in too hot. All right, here it is. Cowboys defense last season, pretty dismal in every category. Guy that knows a little thing or two about defense, former Pro Bowler LeVar Arrington joining us this morning. Lamar, thanks for getting up. Appreciate it. Always good to have you. Are you buying McCarthy's reason for the defensive struggles last season?
I'm not buying that you called me Lamar. Lamar is so famous.
Did I call you Lamar?
And all that good stuff. I get it all the time because of Lamar Jackson being so famous. Anyway, I do not buy it. This is what I buy, guys. And here's what's interesting. If you ever went to buy a burger and you got the burger and then you realize after you got the burger that the person that cooked you the burger never cooked burgers ever in their life, I would think that the burger wouldn't be as good as it needed to be. Now, here's where I'm coming from right now. Mike Nolan was the problem with the Cowboys defense. Mike Nolan's never really been a successful coach. And I brought up the burger thing, the reference, because B. Marsh, you played offense, you played receiver, right? If you went to coach and you were coaching linebackers and you were coaching the defensive side of the ball the entire time, or say receivers the entire time of your career, and then at some point you go somewhere and they make you a defensive backs coach, and then the next year you're the coordinator, something isn't right. Now, y'all may not be following me, but Mike Nolan has never been a successful head coach. And then he coaches positions and ends up inheriting, after being hired to the Ravens as a receivers coach in 2001, inherits the defenses of 2002 through 5 with the Ravens. How good did you have to be as a coach to coach that Ravens unit? He's for some strange reason, Mike Nolan has moved around the league very much, and has not been very good. That's I mean, it's just simple reason.
Well, here's the deal, Lamar. Okay. I love your burger reference.
Yeah, you don't want a burger. If you ain't never made a burger, don't make me a burger. Fat boy talk.
Right.
Fat boy talk.
But here's the thing. We are just talking about Russell Wilson. I just went back to my notes from March 17th about this whole Pete Carroll and what's happening there. I can go back to my notes going back to week 4 in the National Football League during the season. And we had this discussion around this defense. I had Coach Nolan as my defensive coordinator in Denver. And then also I had him as my defensive coordinator in Miami. And what I said was, it's too complex. When you get to Friday or you get to Saturday's walkthrough, we're talking about 24 hours away from a game, and all of my guys on the defensive side got scripts out on the sideline. I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? It was too complex back then, and it was too complex now. So I'm absolutely buying what Coach Mike McCarthy is saying, because that's what I said in week 4. It's way too complex. I reached out to those guys on my team that had Coach Nolan, and you're right, because I'm on the offensive side. I don't know everything. I'm not privy to all the information. I'm saying, why isn't this working? What makes this so difficult? And they said it's just too complex. He does too much. You got to have really sophisticated guys. And to your point, you going back to the Baltimore Ravens, who did they have? They had some of the smartest players. Lewis. You talking about Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. Come on, man. Yeah, so, Nick, I am buying what Coach McCarthy's saying.
So I'm not saying you shouldn't buy what he's saying. What I am going to say is it's the only thing he can sell, so it's what he's selling. Because what he does not have available to sell to the audience is we're going to be better on defense because look at all these new defensive players we got. They don't have them. Keanu Neal's their only significant defensive addition. Other than that, it's guys making $2 or $3 million bucks. They are going to be trotting out there, in large part, the same unit. So if you want to tell the audience and your fans you're going to be better, Wildes, this is all that they can say. Now, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that it's not accurate as to why they struggled. But whether it was right or wrong, the only rationale the only reason to have hope the Cowboys defense will be better is going to be schematics and coaching, because aside from Keanu Neal, in large part, it's going to be the same groups of guys out there, Wildes.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Is it the schematic or is it the people? And it reminds me of my favorite scene in every sort of crime movie. It's like Denzel or Clive Owen or somebody. They get there and they're looking at all the evidence and they're like, we got to follow the money. If we follow the money, we'll be able to figure it out. And it's like, okay, yeah, follow the money. And then like the nerd comes in like, I've been following the money. So if we follow the money for Dallas, doesn't look like they care that much about the defense. Looks like they care a lot about the offense. So it's great to have a bunch of wide receivers, great to play Zeke a lot of money, but when you're 31st in spending, it just feels like the priority is on scoring points and not on defense. So yeah, maybe it's part scheme, but maybe it's also personnel.
Give me $59 million. I'll build a defense.
All right, look at that. Let's set the Cowboys aside, talk about a team that did spend some money this offseason, the New England Patriots. Latest report says trade that sends Jimmy Garoppolo to New England still in play, Wildes. Still in play. Wildes has been talking about this since birth. Kind of shocking. The Pats did re-sign Cam just a couple weeks ago, Cam Newton. So, Brandon, let me start with you. What are the chances that Jimmy G is New England's Week 1 starter?
I mean, man, Nick, you know I hate the what ifs. I remember me and Nick got into this argument one time because I'm like, I don't want to talk about no what ifs. And Nick's like, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. This is what our job, we get paid to do this. And I'm like, bro, it's what ifs. And nothing has changed, Nick. I'm sorry, but where is this report coming from? And does it really make sense? Look, if let's say Jimmy G does get traded there, there's two things going to happen. One, Cam Newton will win the quarterback battle. If he's still there and they're competing, I truly believe Cam Newton will beat out Jimmy G. And the other side of this spectrum will be this. Jimmy G gets traded to the New England Patriots. Wow, and you've been calling for this for months. Then what happens is Cam Newton is now going to come in and say, release me. You really think Cam Newton wants to compete with Jimmy G? That is a disrespect. This is a dude that's coming out every single day saying how this is his moment, his payback moment. This is his opportunity to tell us that, look, I told you that I was still a baller in the National Football League. So this big what if stuff, you know, whatever. If we have to talk about it, then I'm going with Cam Newton to beat Jimmy G out if he doesn't ask for a trade or release.
Okay. So first of all, embrace the what ifs. Stop fighting the what ifs because you're actually pretty good at the what ifs. Like, because you're like, well, if he gets traded, then Cam's going to ask me to release. And then where's he going to sign? Maybe he goes to Washington and backs up Fitz. He takes Fitz's job. Like, great job, Brandon, for not liking the what ifs. You did a wonderful job. Nick, I think there's too much smoke here for there not to be a fire. So we know that Shanahan is not in love with Jimmy G. He'll flirt with any quarterback walking past him. Gardner Minshew is the latest report. We know that Bill Belichick loves Jimmy G. We know that Bill Belichick has been wildly aggressive, upgrading every position on the Patriots except quarterback. It doesn't make a ton of sense. But Brandon brings up a good point. Says, hey, well, he said all these nice things about Cam's leadership, Cam's incentive-laden contract. Here's a take. Tell me what you think of this. As much as you dislike the game plan down in New Orleans, I do think there's value in having Jimmy G start and inserting Cam every once in a while for a different look. I know you hate it, but I think Cam still has a role in the team. I don't think Cam would ask for his release. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Here's what I don't hate. I don't hate that. And I don't hate the what ifs. I've made an entire career on what ifs. I love them, and I'm going to get Brandon around to my side of it. I've created fake trades and fake GM and fake drafts for 15 years. It's worked out great. So I love the what ifs.